News Channel 5 network, this is Morning Line with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line. Nick Barris with you on this Monday. I do hope you had a good, safe weekend. We've got a good show on tap for you. We're going to invite you all to join in the conversation if you'd like, and we're going to be coming to you over a number of different platforms this morning. We're going to be here on the Plus. You're watching me right here on this, as well as we're going to be streaming live on Facebook at News Channel 5 Plus and newschannel5.com. I'm making my way to that as well, so I can monitor your comments if you'd like to call in and join in the conversation. Obviously, an awful lot happened yesterday with regard to the coronavirus here in the city of Metro. Okay, also on a large scale just throughout Middle Tennessee. We'll touch on that, but we're going to focus mainly right now on what's happening in the city. We can take your calls and questions, not just on the coronavirus. If at some point we segue to and you have questions or comments with regard to the continued recovery after the tornadoes, which we cannot forget. There's still people out there that need a lot of help with that. You're welcome to join us in that. But to talk all about this morning is someone in the know, and we're really glad he was able to find time this morning to join us. But it's Metro Nashville's Vice Mayor, Jim Showman.
Can't shake
Not
your
going to
hand.
shake. Exactly. Yeah. It is interesting, isn't it? It's so funny, and we're sitting more apart. We're not going to try to touch our faces. It is a habit, isn't it, Jim? Among gentlemen and gentlewomen, to shake and acknowledge, and it's a change of the way we operate.
So everything's changing, obviously.
Yeah.
But just have to remember, use common sense. Try to remember not to shake people's hands.
Yes.
Use the elbow bump, or and stand a certain distance away. I think, I mean, one of the things that I would really encourage everybody out there to do is use common sense. Don't panic. Mm-hmm. You know, we've been through bad situations before. I'm not sure if we've ever been through
This is unprecedented.
Something exactly like this before, but people need to take it seriously. People need to, you know, take the necessary precautions. They need to get their stuff and kind of hunker down. I worry about small businesses and other things like that, but we'll get through this.
Yeah.
We always do. We'll do it, but everybody needs to kind of chime, you know, to be a part of this in terms of making sure that, you know, it's like what happened yesterday. Yep. Or what happened Saturday night, because we started getting text messages and emails from people saying, we're watching Broadway and there are 1 million people down there.
I know.
Not 1 million, but there's lots of people
I know what
down
you mean.
there.
So I've seen all the video.
Yeah. And so the idea is, oh, wait a minute, everybody needs to take this seriously. And so that is not a good situation, was not a good situation. That's why the mayor acted yesterday.
And that's the thing. Yesterday, of course, the big development was the mayor and there with the Department of Health and director basically, you know, declaring, I guess, a state of emergency, if you will, that gives the health department and the mayor the power to go ahead and close, you know, some of these bars and some of these restaurants and set limits, which is in place. And I know, again, let's not forget, these are people's jobs and it's difficult. I understand there's going to be some legal challenges, but just from your perspective as Vice Mayor, they wouldn't have to take this action if people took personal responsibility. And I know there are some still out there that think maybe this virus is no big deal. If you're someone who still thinks it's a hoax, well, you need to go have your head examined because you're flat wrong. It's not a hoax. We can quibble about whether or not the actions taken are appropriate or if people are overreacting to this, okay? I understand that. We can debate that. Just don't call it a hoax. I don't want to hear from you. But when I saw the video of people packed into some of these establishments that night, and I like going to a lot of these, but I wasn't going to do it on this weekend, I was scratching my head and saying, what on earth? I mean, this is a health hazard, and even if you are young enough and healthy enough to say, look, I can go down there, and if I get it, I can shake it. What if you take that home to your elderly mother and father, and they get this respiratory illness and die? I mean, don't just think about yourself. I was stunned, and so that's why I understand why the city. Is that why the city had to take this action? Because people are not taking personal responsibility themselves?
I wasn't a part of all the conversations with the mayor's office, but I believe that's what happened, and I believe what they saw by watching what was going on Broadway, you know, downtown on Saturday night, or people not taking that responsibility. And I mean, what happens is, again, I'm not a doctor, I'm a lawyer and vice mayor, but this thing spreads very, very quickly. And so if you have somebody or several people down there that are contagious, and they're all packed together, that thing can spread very quickly, and then you just escalate the number of cases. And as we were talking about before, again, not a doctor, but I can read, what you're trying to do is flatten out that curve. You do not want to inundate the medical system all at once, because we can't handle that. We're not built for that with the ventilators and everything else. We want to, people just need to take the necessary precautions, and if they're not, then we're going to have to step in and try to force them to take the necessary precautions.
And that's what I want to ask you about, the force part of it. We've already heard from Brian Lewis, an attorney who represents some of the bars, and they're like, unless we get an order from the state or something, we're going to challenge this and stay open. The question is, okay, with the order in place, I think we heard yesterday that Metro PD will be consulted. If those bars stay open, or some of these restaurants don't follow the guidelines, 50% capacity and the like, what action do you believe Metro will take with the police?
Well, so that's a good question. That's actually a question that I asked yesterday. It's like, what happens?
Well, you know, when there's nuisance facilities, and it happens very rarely, they go in padlock places.
Right.
I don't know if it would come to this point, but what do you think the city's going to do?
So I hope that it doesn't come to that point. You know, what could have happened before we ever got to this point is you saw cities across the country starting to reduce the number of places that were open. Or if you weren't going to close them down, you reduce the capacity, which is what happened with the restaurants. The idea is to keep people apart and try to keep people from, you know, it's that social isolation. You're trying to keep people away from each other. So what you have to do is you have to reduce the number of people that are crowded into a bar. You need to take proper steps, and obviously nobody took proper steps on Saturday night, and so I think that's what happened. What are we going to do? I guess we could padlock. I mean, we could take serious steps, because we mean business. I mean, that's what that's a difficult decision for the mayor to make. But he brought in his experts, he brought in his legal counsel, he brought in the people he needed to know, and then he made the sweeping decision. That's a proper response. If people aren't going to take this seriously, we need to, and we need to clamp down, and we need to make sure that these things are followed. So we'll see. I don't know. I mean, I asked the same question. I'm not exactly sure what we'll do, but everybody needs to play their part. So what you don't want is, you don't want these entities just out there feeding into this. I mean,
are you disappointed that some of these establishments are challenging this, and their thinking is that, look, you know, we have employees and that need to make a living, and you know, it's unconstitutional for you to do this?
Look, I mean, I'm concerned about small businesses. I'm concerned about all the rest of that stuff. But yeah, this is where everybody has to stand up. I mean, government has to be there. I mean, I believe government has to keep functioning, has to be there, has to be making decisions on behalf of the well-being of all the citizens of our city, state, country. So everybody has to play a part. And if medical science, if the doctors are saying, do not do this, do not just all commingle in the same place, then we need to stop that. So yeah, I am disappointed. I think the mayor made the right decision. I think we have to go forward.
Okay, and again, I walk the balance line here where I understand you talk and I talk about not panicking, of course. And that's right, and that you want to try to live your life as best as possible. And a lot of people are saying, look, I'm going to go on living my life. And I think that's great. But with some judgment and some reason,
right.
And going to big crowded places, and I saw some pictures of these guys out on the front bar drinking their beers, and they're all packed in there. Come on, man, use your head. All right, now the other side of this, something else that we heard from the CDC yesterday was they sent out an alert saying that they're discouraging gatherings of 50 or more people. And I have a friend who has a wedding that's scheduled before the end of this month with 300 people, and it's a real pickle for her. Now, Metro Council meets tomorrow, and if I'm counting everyone that's in a Metro Council meeting, and I think it exceeds, you know, with everyone involved, more than 50. What will you be doing tomorrow?
So after this meeting, we're regrouping again. We have well, a couple of reasons for us to meet. One is that by charter, we have to meet twice a month. Okay. Do you just everything goes out the window and you reject?
Does that have to be, by the way, in person, or can you meet over telecommunication?
So we've looked at it that way, and we have to meet in person. We don't have the ability to do it by teleconference. But we have looked at all these different angles, and we continue to look at it. But one is that in a crisis, government has to step up. Okay, we're not panicked. I mean, I'm not panicked. want to take those reasonable steps. But government has to continue function. We have some resolutions up tomorrow night, bond financing, some things dealing with tornado relief.
So that could, that's important.
So,
sure.
So at some point we have to pass that stuff. Now, I heard this morning before I came in that we may be taking a step back, and we'll look at that. So this thing changes every hour. So government functioning, resolutions to pass. But the third thing is we invited Dr. Schaffner, Dr. Jahinger, I think, the head of the coronavirus task force, and Dr. Caldwell, the new head of the Metro Health Department, to come in. We're opening up our floor to them, and they can give us an update.
Yeah.
So basically, the city can, and the council, the city can watch and get the latest update from people who I have a tremendous amount of respect for.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, and we have to take a break, but we are blessed in large measure, and going back years, I've interviewed Dr. Schaffner over at Vanderbilt, and he is, and has been acknowledged, and he's on all the national media, as likely the foremost expert on infectious diseases in this country, right there in a handful of them. And he's right here among us, and he's going to be at this council meeting, and we've talked to him, obviously, since this all started. Yeah. That's someone you can listen to and believe to be credible. And I do listen to that man. Listen, we'll take a break. When we come back, a lot of folks following us on Facebook. If you have comments or questions there, we'll try to address those. Same thing, many of you on hold right now on the phones here at 737-7587. More with Metro's Vice Mayor right after this.